Ever wondered who actually prints the US dollar? You'd think it's the Federal Reserve. It isn't. The Fed hasn't printed a single banknote, not in 113 years. The Bureau of Engraving and Printing does it. 2.4 trillion in cash is out there. Every bill, every single one came out of this basement. By the end of this video, you'll know the one mechanism, the BEP to Fed order, that means the central bank never touches a press. But first, where does this $100 bill actually start? So picture this, 14th Street, 5 a.m., the press is already warm. You walk in at 4:45, the press warms up before you do. Here's the thing, the BEP didn't start as a bureau. It started in a Treasury basement in 1862. One press, Civil War greenbacks. That basement became a bureau. The bureau got its own building in 1914. Treasury runs the press, always has. Now, you're a WG10 press operator. Your machine, a Komori intaglio, and in 12 minutes, sheet 1 runs. So how big is the system you just walked into? Big. Each press runs 9,000 sheets an hour. Each sheet has 32 notes. That's 7.6 billion notes a year across both BEP facilities. One bureau, 2 buildings, DC since 1862, Fort Worth since 1990. That's the whole press capacity for everyone. So who actually decides how many bills get printed? Not the BEP, the Fed. Every July, the Federal Reserve sends Treasury its annual print order. So many $1, so many 5s, so many $100. BEP prints what the Fed asks for. That's the deal. The Fed doesn't own a press. It doesn't want to. Why does that matter? Because the law makes it explicit. 31 U.S. Code, Section 51(4). Engraving and printing belongs to Treasury. Not the central bank, not Congress, Treasury. You hit start, 5 a.m. The first sheet runs through the intaglio plate. The intaglio plate is the master, hand engraved, steel. Each one takes a master engraver months to make. You watch sheet 1 come through, $3,200 bills on one sheet, $3,200 in face value, in 4 seconds. You log it, sheet 1, 5:04 a.m., then sheet 2, then 1,000 more before lunch. And here's the kicker. The Fed doesn't pay BEP in cash. It pays in book entry credits. The print order's basically an accounting transfer. BEP charges the Fed about 6 cents to print each note. The Fed then issues it as a dollar of currency. Look, that's the trick the whole system runs on. Cost to print, 6 cents. Face value when issued, $100. The conventional read says the Fed prints money. The hidden read is the Fed orders it, pays cost, and reissues it at face value. One press, one order, one law. Treasury prints. Quick thing. Most people mix up BEP and the U.S. Mint. They're different bureaus. BEP makes paper. The Mint makes metal. 2 bureaus, 1 Treasury, different statutes, different processes. And here's the part nobody mentions. Every U.S. banknote has the Treasurer's signature on the left, not the Fed chair. Never has been. 2 Treasury signatures, 0 Fed signatures. That's not symbolism, that's chain of authority. Now here's where it gets weird. Each sheet runs through inspection, and inspection's a whole other process. COPE, currency overprinting and processing equipment. Serial numbers go on here, security threads align here. Every note gets a unique serial number. 11 characters, 2 letters, 8 digits, 1 letter. No collisions, ever. The first letter tells you which Federal Reserve Bank ordered it. A is Boston, B is New York. 12 districts, 12 letters. So the bill in your wallet? Look at the serial. The first letter? That's the district that ordered it. You watch the COPE conveyor stamp passed on the inspection log. The sheet moves to the cutter. So why does the inspection matter so much? Because the $100 lives 22.9 years on average. Longest of any bill. The $1 lives 6 years. The $100 lives more than 2 decades. Same paper, same cotton linen blend, different turnover. Why so long? People hoard the hundreds. They don't pass them through registers. The dollar churns, the 100 sits. And here's the part nobody mentions. About 2/3 of all U.S. $100 bills live outside the United States, permanently. So when the BEP prints 100, it's printing for the world, not for your wallet, for somebody else's. Now you watch the cutter slice the sheet into 32 individual notes. 6.14 inches by 2.61 inches. Always. The notes get banded, 100 to a strap, $10,000 per strap, 10 straps per bundle, 40 bundles per pallet. The pallet leaves the BEP loading dock for the nearest Fed cash office. One press, one pallet, one destination. So picture this, $10,000, one strap, one brick. Now multiply by 1,000 straps. That's the daily inflow at a regional Fed cash office. So what happens after the cash office gets the pallet? It sits until a bank orders cash. Then it ships. The Fed runs 12 regional cash offices: Boston, New York, Atlanta, Chicago, San Francisco, and 7 more. Banks order cash from their district's cash office. The cash office ships from inventory. If inventory is low, it asks BEP for more. You ship a strap to a depository bank. They debit their reserve account at the Fed. Cash leaves the vault. Money never gets created. So here's the catch. The Fed creates money electronically. It does not create money on a press. Two completely different processes. When people say the Fed prints money, they mean open market operations, electronic reserve creation. No press involved, none. But the physical cash still has to come from somewhere, and that somewhere is one limestone basement on 14th Street. Now here's where the loop closes. Banks send worn cash back to the Fed cash office every day by the truckload. Each note runs through a high-speed sensor sorter. Worn, torn, faded, marked. The machine flags it. Every defect goes in the unfit pile. About 1 in 5 return notes fail. They go to the shredder. The good ones go back to the vault. The shredder lives in the same building as the vault, a few rooms away. The Fed destroys what the BEP printed. Last year, the cash offices destroyed 7.4 billion notes. The BEP printed 7.6 billion. The system runs at a slight net positive. $210 billion more cash than the year before. The economy grew. The press kept up. You walk into the shredding room. The shredder runs hot. Confetti pours into a collection chute. The confetti gets compressed into briquettes. Some get burned. Some get sold as souvenirs in the BEP gift shop. Yeah, the Fed sells shredded money as a gift. $5 for a paperback-sized brick of destroyed cash. Souvenirs. And here's the trick. The cash office that destroyed the bill places a fresh order with BEP for the replacement. The loop closes. So every 100 in circulation has been seen by a Fed cash office at least once in its 22.9-year life. On average, the Fed doesn't print money, the Fed inspects money, and then it kills the ones that wore out. One bureau prints, 12 offices destroy, one Treasury chain. So now you know, the Federal Reserve doesn't print money, not literally, it never has. The Bureau of Engraving and Printing does the printing. Treasury holds the press. The law makes it that way. The Federal Reserve orders the print run, pays cost, issues at face value, distributes through 12 cash offices, destroys at the end. But the press itself, the actual machine that puts ink on paper, that's here, 14th Street SW, Washington, D.C., always has been. So the next time you hear someone say the Fed printed too much money, they don't mean a press, they mean a server. The mechanism hasn't changed since 1862, it just stays invisible. Treasury prints, the Fed orders, the press is here in this basement on 14th Street. Quick test, pull a bill out of your wallet right now. Top of the bill says Federal Reserve note. Yeah, that's the issuer. The Fed issues it. Bottom left says Secretary of the Treasury. Bottom right says Treasurer of the United States. 2 Treasury officials. Look, top of the bill, the Fed. Bottom of the bill, Treasury. The whole chain of custody right there on every banknote you own. The Fed issues. Treasury authorizes, BEP prints. 3 different jobs, 1 piece of paper in your wallet. And here's something nobody tells you. Running this whole printing and destroying loop costs the Fed about $1 billion a year. $1 billion a year. To keep 2.4 trillion in cash in circulation, that's a rounding error. And the Fed makes that billion back many times over from open market operations alone. The press costs nothing relative to the system. So look, the next time someone tells you the Fed printed too much money, you'll know what they actually mean and what they don't. Subscribe if you want the next one. There's a lot more hidden in plain sight, and most of it sits in forms nobody reads. Subscribe, and pull 100 out of your wallet next time, just to check the signatures. Same basement. Tomorrow, 5 a.m. again.